if need be, and then geared up in our command mode. From that, we learned that we found no patients, and we were able to start demobbing at this time. So right now we had plenty of resources on scene at the staging area that was set up, predetermined. We have done active shooter training with the PD to this point, and I can honestly say it paid off today with some of the resources and the way things came together. Nobody ever wants to go through this type of situation, and we can thank all our lucky stars that nothing terrible came out of it as of today. But it's just the world we live in that we have to be ready to respond to such things. So, thank you.
Yeah. Ready to answer questions. Lieutenant, is this related to any of the other threats made at main schools today?
So we got information that there were multiple schools that had received a similar call. I know that we're actively investigating the origin of where this call came in, and that's probably going to be a multi-agency approach to that.
Will that also include the FBI?
It potentially could, yes. You know, anytime that you have something that's this large, and when you have this amount of resources being pulled into a situation like this, it's probably going to be a multi-agency, multi-jurisdictional type of investigation.
And you mentioned that obviously there were a lot of resources that quickly mobilized on the scene, taking this at face value that there was indeed a threat. Do you think it made a difference having an SRO at the school?
I think anytime that you can have a school resource officer in place within the school, not only for situations like this, but also to let the students know that police officers aren't just there for an armed security, but just to liaise between the police department and the students.
Lieutenant, is there a way to assess the amount of resources that were put into a situation like this one?
It's tough. You know, you have agencies from all around, both police and fire. The chief described the air wing units that were here as well. The price tag on these is substantial, both not only the financial part, but also the man hours involved in getting everybody together to make sure that everybody is safe.
Can you tell me what goes into your mind when you respond to a situation like this one?
It's always a scary situation. You know, our first response is to get here as quickly as possible to save as many lives as possible. And, you know, the response that was today, everybody that did respond had that same thing in mind.
I understand it's tough to understand right now what was happening kind of behind the scenes in terms of parent perspective. Obviously, you're more focused on addressing the situation. Why do you think so many families were under the impression that there were injuries?
Well, I think that's because that was the information that was given to us, you know, initially. You know, and my guess is that information probably got out to the public in some way. So, you know, the initial call that came into us was that there were injuries at the school.
Do you think that was received by the teacher secondhand? Maybe, I mean, why? I'm just trying to figure out why she would call that in otherwise.
Yeah, well, so the person that called it in is the person that we're looking to make contact with. I don't think that it was an actual teacher in the school.
Okay, so it was someone possibly potentially claiming to be a teacher.
Correct.
Are they impersonating a particular teacher?
There was no names given.
Do you have any idea of what motivates a person to do this?
I wish that I could comment on that. I don't know. You know, it's, you know, where you have such a large amount of schools that have been impacted by this. It seems like today I don't have a number in terms of how many schools received a similar call, but yeah, I don't know.
What are the next steps moving forward?
So right now it's making sure that the kids get bused to a safe location where parents can meet up with their kids. It's furthering making sure that the school is 100% secure. All rooms are being checked currently multiple times, and then it's a matter of giving the school back to the teachers and trying to debrief what happened today.
Where are students being bused to right now so that way parents and family members
Yeah,
can
the students are currently being bused to the Memorial Gym.
Are you encouraging parents to pick them up or not for now?
It would be a good place for the parents to go because parents responding here, they're not going to be able to get to the students and they're not going to be able to get to the school.
And I'm guessing the students are not going back to school today.
Correct.
So much of the training goes into these attack situations, these attack scenarios, goes into teaching staff to teaching students what to do. A lot of the parents went to the high school today. Do you think that there might be, you know, a way to express to parents what they should do if this were the case, if this were an active situation?
Sure. You know, it's always important for parents not to come to the scene. You know, I can imagine that that's probably one of the most difficult asks to have a parent not respond to where their students are. But you know, it's always ideal not to come to the scene just because it's so complicated. There are multi-agencies here, multiple officers and students to keep track of all of those things all at one time. You know, it would be easier, you know, if parents didn't respond to the scene. But I also can understand and sympathize what a difficult request that is.
Anything else that you'd like to say about what happened today?
No, I mean, you know, I would say that the response to the school, both by the rescue personnel from surrounding agencies and the police departments in the surrounding agencies, you know, the response here was rapid and swift. And, you know, I think a lot of the school trainings that we do for scenes just like this help us to prepare better for when those situations occur.
Even with everything going right now and the students at the gym, what is being done? This is traumatic for them. What's going on for them, for their health?
Yep. So we've coordinated with the school, with the guidance counselors, and their coordinating response as well. All the buses that left with the police officer. There are police officers on scene for their security as well. So a coordinated response with the command post for the students' welfare is also being coordinated.
I know a lot of students had cell phones. They were communicating with their parents. They were encouraged not to do that. Is that part of the training?
It's just always good to try to isolate as much information coming out as possible because you don't want people running to the scene and running to areas because it just adds an extra layer of difficulty.
Do you think having that information spread on social media contributed to the response from parents?
Well, I mean, you know, it's hard to kind of put a lid on the way information gets disseminated. You know, so with the fact that we have social media and cell phones, that information gets propagated. A lot of times it can get manipulated. So, but it's really difficult for us, you know, as a police department to really put a lid on any of those things.
Picture yourself, just to break for a minute, just picture yourself running into chaos. And then you've seen from across the country the different schools that have gone through this, some with very tragic results. And those initial police officers and emergency responders that have to go into it have to make split-second decisions to try to do as many right things as possible to save as many lives as possible. And one of the things that the Sanford PD and the Sanford Fire Department have done is we've trained recently on just this sort of thing. And today I believe it paid off in the way we responded and we coordinated our activity. And thank God nothing happened as a result, but the training did pay off. This sort of thing, when it comes to social media and cell phones, it's hard. We all know it's hard to coordinate that and get good information out. And everybody's looking for good information because good information brings good decisions. And so without that, it's hard to make those. So it goes back to basic training, it goes back to officers' instincts, it goes back to all that sort of thing in order to make a best outcome as possible. I think we can count this as a win today. Thank God we didn't have anything that really actually happened at the school or a thing. And hopefully going forward we can help prevent anything like this going on in the future. And again, I'll second the aspect of the SROs at the high school. They're a great resource for the fire department as well, because having those eyes and ears on the school 24/7 or during the school time makes a big difference for any of our responses to the schools as well as the PD, and it builds those relationships with the students that allows them to trust us more when we are in the school.
What do you think?
If that person who made this call is watching, or somebody that has thought about making a hoax call like this, what do you have to say to them?
Well, we're going to dump as much resources into finding who that person is. For sure.
Can you provide a more detailed account of how the call came in? How long did it take for the students to be, locked down?
So they have their own protocol in place for that. They'll go over the PA and they'll do a lockdown drill, and the students usually get locked down immediately.
What is the impact emotionally on teachers, students, and parents during an event like this one?
It's extremely stressful and traumatic. You know, these are the things that you see play out in the media, that you read about in articles. This is the first time that anything like this has come to the Sanford school, and the fallout from that emotionally for the teachers and students is probably going to be long felt.
Did any of the training post-Texas change the way you approach today?
I mean, I think, our response is to be here as fast as possible, as rapidly as possible, and to assess the threat as quickly as possible. That's how we've been trained even before Texas, and that's how we will continue to train. The whole process in which police and fire respond and the SROs. You know, as we learn more, those things evolve, and how we respond and the tactics that we use, and we try to stay up to date with the most recent and current tactics for that.
Lieutenant, any suggestions to parents? I mean, there's a lot of parents lining the streets here that are concerned, some are even crying. What's your suggestion to them in a situation like this one?
Well, I mean, it's, you know, follow, you know, what the officers on scene are telling you. You know, we try to set up a location where they can meet to go there, and then the lasting effects for that is to make sure you're talking to somebody, receiving counseling, you know, making sure your kids are okay. You know, things like this are extremely stressful for everybody involved, and you know, it's best to try to get the help and talk to individuals to make sure that the parents and students are okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Just get your, can you spell out your full name?
First name is Steve, just T-E-E, last name
Give me
Benotti,
one
he's a
second.
boy, again,
And what's your official title?
fire chief.